Patrick from Anfield's next up. Hello, Patrick.
Hello there, Roger.
Hello. How are you? All right?
Good, Roger. Thank you very much. Yes, Roger.
This is a concern about the council and Anfield, yes?
Well, it's not really the council. The club, the community, the unfortunate people, of which I'm one of them. The whole scenario. Somebody just phoned me there, and he said that this morning, at about 9 o'clock, that there was a lady, a gentleman talking about Anfield, but I can't find it on the iPlayer.
Yes, I'm not quite sure. I think the story might have been the fact that there's a local group which is called the Anfield, something like the Anfield Physical Regeneration Group, which really wants information from Liverpool Football Club about what's going on, rather than being left in the dark.
Yeah. I'm actually not familiar with that group. They sound like a group I should be involved with, because I'm in the same scenario. I've been trying to communicate with the club for a long time, and I have a website. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the website or not. Well, it's called, my website is www.lfc.info, and the LFC doesn't stand for Liverpool Football Club. It stands for Liverpool Families Cond. Basically, that's what I feel. 7 years ago, I moved here partly because I'm a Red supporter. I support the team, and I, like everybody else, was very shocked to see the state of the streets and the houses, and it's hard to believe how it can coexist beside such a wealthy institution. But the more I've dug into things, and the more I've investigated and spoken to locals and everybody else, the more I'm of the opinion that the situation is deliberate.
Deliberate in what sense? I mean, LFC have done quite a lot in that area now. They helped enormously with the redevelopment of Stanley Park. They do a lot of things in the community, give money to various groups in the community.
Right, Roger. If I can reply to that. The regeneration of Stanley Park, this is a misconception, Roger. This is a spin that's put out by highly paid company BMW-driven LFC executives, of which there are many. The regeneration of what they've done in Stanley Park is that the money that regenerated Stanley Park was European money. It was something in the region of 9 million plus, and that money actually has to be given back because it was conditional on a stadium being built there. The Vernon Sanctor sports facility was not, and part of the deal for that was that it was going to be reconstructed, recreated within the new stadium.
My understanding, I've got a statement here from, just been given to me from Liverpool, which is that Liverpool FC has contributed 9 million quid to enable the council to get 18 million quid of public funding from Europe and central government to achieve things like either Gladstone Conservatory, Stanley Park, community centres, improvements to highways and pedestrian access infrastructure.
This is something that's difficult to get to the bottom of, Roger. I mean, I have enlisted several people in radio stations, newspaper journalists from London and everybody. It's a difficult story to get to the bottom of, but I can tell you that it's not as sweet as it sounds at all. What's actually happened, and I'm a Red supporter myself, part of the problem here is that because Liverpool Football Club have won so much and brought so many trophies and so much happiness and joy and glory to Liverpool, and made everybody happy, as Bill Shankly made the people happy, God bless the man. But because of all that, we've got to an era now where that since about 1984, in my opinion, I've got evidence to say that Liverpool Football Club has systematically went out to destroy the area. As you said, as Tony Snell said this morning, the stadium was set up in 1892 when people had bicycles, and there wasn't even such a thing as a motor car. It's perfectly obvious. It has been obvious for a long, long time, long before the Old Trafford expansion, that expansion had to take place. It's not in Liverpool Football Club's interests to have a vibrant community.
Oh, that's not so.
No. Well, they don't engage, because I have a letter from Christian Porzo which will prove it. They don't engage with the local economy. They have a thing called...
They access Barclays Sport for spaces for sport to improve the Anfield Sports and Community Centre. That's engaging with the local community.
No, their budget for that, because I've spoken to Peter Shaw and a few executives about this, and they'll always come out and they'll say that they engage with Anfield, Breckfield community, and that that they do a thing called Educate. But I've asked them for the figures time and time again on this, and the figures are miserly. I know that when they got permission to build in the park, they got about 45-page agreement. And if you were looking for the conditions on it, you need magnifying glasses. You know, if you wanted to build a coal shed at the back of your house, Roger, there'd be 15 or 20 conditions about light to neighbours and everything else. The conditions to this park were minimal. It was totally weighed in favour of the club. And one very important point I'd like to make, Roger.
The park is pretty good now. I can't see how it's in favour of the club. It seems to be in favour of the community of the park. The development in the park and the Alan Gladstone is really something very special, I think.
Roger, Liverpool Football Club did not pay for the development of the park.
They contributed £9 million plus 5.63 million of enabling works towards it.
I don't believe that. I've heard that before. What they have achieved with the park is they've denied. Number one, they've denied Everton the chance to build in the park. Number two, they've got the big car park off Priory Road. They've made a car park out of that. They've achieved that. Number two, they now have a second car park. And number three, I believe that even when they did get permission to build in the park, which was devoid of normal conditions, I think, they knocked the Vernal Sangster, who's replacing that. While they got permission to do that, they were not asked to reinstate the derelict houses which they own in Lothar Road.
Well, they did actually. They restored 10 of the houses. I think it's in Tancred Road. It's a demonstration project.
You're talking about Skerries Road there,
Sorry.
Roger.
They restored 10 of those, and they paid for security for the Rockfield area for 2.5 years when there was bad antisocial behaviour. You can't say they're not involved with the community.
Roger, with all due respect, and I don't mean this personally, but you sound as if you're reading this from an LFC PR script.
I'm reading it from a statement they gave us.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that their statements are written by people on very high salaries driving very big
cars. Well, that doesn't mean they're not true.
I'm a resident here, and I've looked in very closely. You know, regarding the 9 houses they did up, that's actually Skerries Road. And what happened there, Roger, was Kimlin Road. Kimlin Road is a road that's now knocked. Okay, it's parallel. It was parallel to Skerries Road. Kimlin Road is now where the players park their cars. Okay. Now, Kimlin Road, I think that you and a lot of people in Liverpool will be familiar, as before I came here, about the Kimlin sisters, the poor, unfortunate sisters were the last people left on the road. Eventually, they bought them out, and they knocked the road. Well, now, they started doing the same thing in the next road, which is Skerries Road, and they achieved it by 9 houses. And there's people there like Alan Blundell and Bob Jones, the people on the Residents Association, who successfully campaigned to stop the rot, because what was happening was that LFC don't buy houses with the intention of being honourable or respectful to neighbours. What they do, and what they have done, and this has happened in many, many roads. I'm talking about more than 7 different roads in Anfield. What they did was they left the houses empty, and before there was a law to secure the properties, they didn't even secure them, and they encouraged kids and they encouraged crime, and they allowed.
So I don't quite know how you encourage crime if you spend money 24/7 security for an area.
You're reading their script. You're assuming that they spent the...
You're saying then, are you saying that they're telling a lie in this statement? I read the sentence. The club also paid for 24/7 security for the Rockfield area for 2.5 years.
Christian Posner wrote me a letter saying he paid for security as well. If you asked...
Well, may have done, but I mean, you can't say the club didn't do something if it did do that.
Roger, just a second. There's about 5 families still living in Lothar Road, including a gentleman there in the 80s now. And he told me when he moved into the road, his road was completely occupied and his side was completely owner-occupied. And I asked him about the security, and I showed him Christian Posner's letter about security. They do not agree with that. Believe me, Roger, it's my opinion, and I don't get up in the morning hoping to go out there and speak negative and think negative, but it's my opinion that Liverpool Football Club have set out to destroy certain roads. They have succeeded with Kimlin Road. They only reinstated the 9 houses
in a sense, there is
reluctantly.
In a sense, there is absolutely no controlling mind in this, because you have a variety of different owners. The most recent owners, the current owners, have not made up their minds what to do. So they can't be somebody above them who's deciding to ruin the Anfield area.
I met John Henry, Roger, on the 14th of October, the day when he arrived at Anfield after he bought the club. And I presented him with a letter which I would love to show you, Roger. I would love if you'd be interested enough and kind enough. I'll even drive down this afternoon and hand it to you. This is a letter that's handwritten by a couple. They're in their 80s now and they're still living in Skerries Road. And I just love you to read their point of view.
But I'm sure they got a very sad point of view, but the reality is, for John Henry, is the day after he took over, he would know little of those details, and they can't make decisions immediately.
Roger,
the idea that this has been a long step since '84, that there's been some controlling mind.
Yeah, I understood that, Roger, and that's why I asked Mr. Henry. I said, "Welcome to Liverpool, and may God bless you." And I said, "I'd be delighted if you take that and just have a look at it sometime when you get a chance." And I actually waited until...
But he's not going to solve one particular family's problems. The issue is much bigger and wider than that.
Roger, in all fairness, the issue is, if you take Lowther Road is a pretty simple issue. Lowther Road is the road that's behind the main stand. Now, when they got permission, when this club, who have a record of irresponsible ownership in Anfield, and it's proven, it's been well documented, that this club are rewarded by giving the victims' people's park to build a private football stadium. Even when that happened, they still weren't asked by the council to clean up their houses in Lowther Road. Now, I know 5 families living in Lowther Road. How would you feel, Roger, if you know, I'm guessing, but I suppose you live in a better area.
Well, wait a minute.
How would you like, or other people like, if somebody came along and bought 2 or 3 derelict houses, and
unfortunately, Dave, you're using Lothian Road as an example, but Dave, who lives in Anfield as well, tells me that those houses are arena housing and maritime housing. Only 4 of the houses in Lothian Road are owned by LFC.
That's wrong. I've got a letter here in my hand signed by Christian Porter, and I'll show it to you this afternoon where he admits to owning 10 of them.
I'm not here this afternoon.